Hey, you're listening to volume 118 of the Strange Grooves podcast.
Wow, we made it.
Shit. I'm Cherise Letson.
I'm Kate Milbury.
And we're joined today by returning legendary guest,
Superstar.
Abigail.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
You haven't been over this year.
No, not
It's been a long time.
It feels like you were, because, that's time, but no, hello.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank you.
for coming over.
It's great to be back. You guys, your setup improves and gets more dope every time. Now it's super intimidating.
Well, it's the perfect time to say thank you to all of our show supporters and Patreon supporters, because without you guys,
This would not exist. We'd still be with the little handheld Zoom, though we love her.
We love her.
We needed to move on.
We'll be going out with her tonight on the move.
Yes.
Wait till you see where we're going. But yeah, quick shout out to our Patreon supporters, Chuck Healy,
Colin Walshoots,
Mary Hicks,
Brent Harris of the St. John Tool Library.
we love you, Brent, Brad Davis.
Corey McGill of McGill's.
Yay, McGill's, we love
Love
you.
McGill's.
Go to shows at McGill's. James Mullinger,
Kaylin Capson of the Pagan Place podcast.
Brendan Parker.
Glenn Hicks of U Station.
Thank you for the text, Glenn. Glenn sent us a text I forgot to tell you just a second ago. He made it to the cottage and he caught up on all 3 episodes.
Amazing. We love that.
We love you,
If
Glenn.
you're not like Glenn,
Frig off.
Be more like Glenn.
be more like
Be
Glenn.
more like Glenn. That's our new T-shirt. Amelia, take note.
This is Glenn. Be more like Glenn.
Be
Take
more like
note. Michael Hawkins.
Nick Curtis.
And our newest Patreon sponsor,
Jennifer Irving.
thank you so much.
Love you, Jen. Thank you. Thank you all so much. As we said, we would still be doing this after almost 5 years without your support. So thank
we
you.
appreciate it. And if you want to give us something, you can. There's lots of ways to do it. Patreon.com/strangegrooves. Head over to our website.
Yes.
Links, the subscribes, all of those. Just do it. Send us your money. Make it rain.
Just do it. You want to, so just do it.
Just do it. Shia LaBeouf. Anyways.
So Abby, I know for the past, thinking back on all the many times that you've joined us on the show over the past 5 years, a lot of the times it's been focused on Quality Block Party, which is an awesome local music festival that takes place in St. John for people who are not local. But you're here to chat about something else very exciting.
Yeah. The main reason I'm here is to talk about the St. John Rock Camp for girls and gender creative kids, which is happening for the second time. This is our second year in operation, and it is August 22nd to 27th. And it's for girls and trans youth and non-binary youth and just gender creative kids of any identity from age 10 to 18. And it's a day camp, and it's a boot camp format. So we have a week to teach these kids new instruments, and they compose original music, and then at the end of the week they perform it on the Imperial stage with their new bands.
That's so amazing.
Yeah. That event.
You went last year, right?
Yeah, it was like really like
Badass.
Yeah, but also like I don't know if I really have any words to kind of articulate the feeling, but it's like to see how fast they were able to like pick the stuff up and how gung-ho it was, but how they actually like were friends as a result of it, and like seeing that, like, they'll probably be friends for life.
Yeah.
And like I would have done anything to have had that like when I was their age, honestly.
Totally.
Like I might be a rock star at this point instead of just, podcasting. But the show at the Imperial, like from everybody speaking to everybody who had participated to help them like create what they had, it just it was really good. So if you haven't gotten tickets or you're not planning to go yet, you should really add it to your calendar, because it's just a really sweet, like, it's a kind of touching like event. So.
Yeah, it's really wild how quickly it all coalesces. Like the week kind of just like expands into itself, and like, the facilitators are all professional local musicians and art sector workers like myself, and photographers and journalists, but the kids like make the music themselves. Like the facilitators facilitate, but like there is no composition. Like they just
the merch they came out, like I was floored.
Oh my gosh,
like
the merch is amazing. Yeah, they design they choose their band names, and they design band logos, and
like I honestly, it was like rattling for me, even just like running Strange Grooves with Cherise, because it was like
they could do this in a week.
Yeah, it was like watching them like have that like ability to be like, okay, we don't know each other. Now these are our songs. These are the lyrics. We relied on this person to come up with and like, they had no preconceived notion of whether you could or can't, and it was just like that, I don't know, that just confidence and seeing that, and then seeing them come up with merch and then put on a show and perform. Like there were people in that crowd who have been in bands for 20 years who have not done that good of a job. Sorry guys, but like straight up.
That's honestly what I think that myself and the other facilitators, we've talked a lot about wanting to do something like this for adults, because like there is something about the pressure of the situation that kind of like just makes creativity happen. And like there is also something to be said for the fact that like it's a free camp. We provide snacks. Like there is just like this space given to creativity. And so even for us, like it was a really creative week for me. Like I felt like I was just like buzzing with creative energy, and I think that all the facilitators felt that way too. And, you know, like Kylie Fox played drums one afternoon, and like, you know, the grown-ups were kind of playing too. But yeah, like honestly, it does kind of make you think like, wow, I got to pick it up, because these kids just create a whole identity and like vibe and relationship with each other. Yeah, it was really amazing. And they were so weird, honestly. Like they had these really like high concept weird things that they wanted to go for, and the facilitators were really amazing and just said like, yes.
That was the vibe I got.
Yeah.
And then it was like everything from like the banners and things that were being showcased behind them. Like it was really, really, really well done, and it kind of gave me a kick in the pants. But it was also, it was inspiring and also motivating.
Yeah, totally.
But it was also just really nice to watch. But I think like that's kind of what people are looking when they go to things, is like, you know, to be kind of inspired, get a kick in the pants. Like, I mean, that's why people watch TED Talks, I think.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, it was definitely like, I think part of the meaningfulness of it too. Like, so our camp was a product of the Fredericton camp. They really helped us set it up, and this year now we're like have our big girl pants on, and we're our own organization. But I think the thing that is like the most interesting about the camp is that it just really does propel you to make this work really quickly. And yeah, the facilitators too were just like, could not believe how much like creative energy was flying around the room. And yeah, the kids had these really high concept things, like this one band, Blank Book. They were really weird and awesome, and they wanted to have a minute of silence when they first came out on stage, to just like make people uneasy in their seats.
Awesome.
Love that.
And we were like, okay, like it's gonna be awkward, like you're gonna hear shuffling, like are you sure you want to do this? And they were like, yes, this is our identity, we're Blank Book, like we want to make people uncomfortable. And they did, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was
like
cool.
Even the sound techs were really supportive, like the Imperial folks were amazing, and they really like respected all the kids' wishes with sound check and everything, and it was so cool. But yeah, it was really awesome to see them take this like really weird concept to fruition. Like,
did the camp expand its number of spaces this year as a result, or same number of spaces?
Same number of spaces. So we allow 16 campers, and we have a really high ratio of like kids to facilitators, just like to make sure that they're getting as much attention as they need, and because yeah, it's like a high pressure situation. But yeah, so it's still 16 campers at the moment, and we're hosted at the amazing Interaction School of Performing Arts, which is great because it's literally set up for children to perform in. So it's a really conducive atmosphere to that. And they've been really good to us. So we're really lucky to be working with them. And yeah, so 16 campers, and we assign their instruments and we assign the bands too. So
Are there a lot of return campers?
Yeah, there are some return campers.
That's why I was wondering, like, did all 16 like already sign up the day that it came out?
Not everyone. Actually, it's kind of a good mix so far. So we have 14 slots filled, I think, at the time of taping. We have only 2 spots left. And there's some familiar faces that are coming back, but there's some new names. So
that's awesome.
I'm really excited. And yeah, it's a nice mix because like it being a free camp, we are able to reach people that haven't participated in interactions programs before, and people that are used to it. And yeah, it's exciting.
Have you heard of any cases of the bands staying together after the camp?
I think I've heard in the Fredericton camp, which has been around for I think maybe 6 years. It's prolific. Like the Fredericton camp is awesome. I think that I've heard that some musicians will meet up afterwards and keep jamming. And that's kind of the goal for us. Like I think that in terms of like growth, what we want from the camp is to be able to help people be music makers year round. So just figuring out ways to allow that to happen. And maybe it'll be jamming at Interaction, or we're not really sure yet, but that's kind of what we want to facilitate, because we really want to teach these kids how to be a part of the music community and to know that there's more than just being a musician. There are podcast hosts, there are journalists, and there are zine makers like First Listen, and we just want to give them the sense of like all of the components that have to go into making a music community work.
Right. What I also think is so cool about this camp is that it provides like a safe space for women, trans kids, and gender. What was it?
Gender creative.
Gender creative. I was like, gender creative. That was a great way to describe it. Is that, you know, rock music, especially, and music in general, we were chatting before the show, is that it's very male dominated. It's a very male dominated industry. But if you look back at, you know, music history, particularly rock and roll, like you see, it was, you know, the trailblazers that were, you know, were women or, you know, gender creative. Like I think of like Bowie or like New York Dolls and, you know, like all these trailblazers, and that all happened in rock and roll, but it's still very much dominated by men. Cis men. So I think it's really cool that, you know, it's providing that space to kind of foster that creativity.
Yeah, it was really important just to kind of just like close that mentorship gap, because I think that the reason that you see certain genders represented on stage is because they had people in their life who can like show them how to do these things and to encourage that. And that's a good thing. Like every child deserves encouragement regardless of gender. But we're just noticing like there's so many more boys on stage in St. John. And I think it's tipping already. Like it's just cool to see like the campers were really confident and really ready to talk about like intense subjects through their music and choose for themselves what they wanted. Like I think that was the coolest part, is just like how driven it is by them.
I think it's like probably really like good even for like, you don't know what you don't know. So what they bring in, whether it be, you know, a merch idea or how the program makes them feel, like I think it's important for the facilitators and then people to understand that, because it makes them better facilitators the next time around, or understanding like that ecosystem a little bit more, because like we don't know what like they're technically facing now as like adolescents. And it's and you know, for me, like growing up, like I always loved music, but everybody around my life that did it were dudes, right? And they all did jam bands, and like what was I supposed to do? Like learn a couple Pantera songs and like try to be a rock star?
But no one should have to do that.
No, but like legit, right? And so it was like Nirvana and like whatever, and I did my own thing, and that's kind of why I cataloged music. But I think, and it's only my own opinion, but I think before it was more of like, oh, well, if all the girlfriends just get together and make a band, it's kind of cheesy, or it's like a cliche, right? But it's like that's not the case anymore, and you don't have to have someone in your family that's a musician to have it either. Like you just kind of have to know where the resources are. Yeah. And then it's nice having the camp, because then they can kind of say, well, what is available afterwards? And
totally.
You know, like I think that's really, really important. And like people, you know, like Chuck Teedy's been working there for years, but he probably learns something new every day with each new camper that comes in, and how they, you know, present themselves and what they need from the program or what they get from it. Yeah. And it probably helps him create the better curriculum, I would hope.
I think so. I think that team, like at Interaction, like Hillary Ladd and Ryan and Chuck, and they really do listen, and they want to make sure that the facility is relevant to what kids need, and they're always trying to grow and to respond to what the community needs, and to be a place that the community has buy-in for. And I mean, we definitely would not have been able to like hit the ground running the way that we did with being like a brand new kids camp without like the trust of Interaction and that facility. But more that like, it was just more than the building. Like they really want to get more kids in performance and into the creative community in St. John.
All good. Random stop. We love that.
It says it. I think it says it's full.
Interesting. What does it say? You do not have enough storage to record video. Free up space by deleting. Weird. Grab mine. Just grab mine quick. Where's yours? Probably over there somewhere.
It was perfect timing because I started to get a frog in my throat.
On there. Do you want some of my ginger?
Sure.
Bummer. Sorry, guys. We can just edit that part out.
Oh, yeah.
It's because I have too many, like, hour-long podcasts on there.
Yeah. Podcasts are the worst.
It just pulls off.
Means it's going to be a really great episode when there's a technical difficulty.
Yeah. I want a better edit.
Oh, is that a good sign?
Yeah. I want a better edit. Back.
And scene.
End scene. Rolling.
So what are we talking about?
Interaction.
Interaction, yes.
Yeah, so there, I know that Hillary Ladd just stepped into the role of creative director there, and they're just, I really appreciate that they're always trying to figure out what kids need, and I was in there today to give a camper and their parent a tour of the space, and there was already a camp going on, and there was like one kid rolling around on roller skates, and there's all this like noise and music, and I was just like, oh my God, I'm so happy it's rock camp season. Like, it is so energizing, and the kids really like, I mean, they do keep it simple. Like, it's an intense week, like they're long days, and there's a lot of emotions and hormones flying around, but I think it does remind you to, like, as an adult, to like just go for the things you want without embarrassment and without hesitation.
Yeah. Yeah, that is important to kind of remind yourself every once in a while, isn't it?
It's true. And those experiences stick with you for life. Like, I don't think I ever talked about this much on the show. I am a former iAct kid. I was like, I'm OG. Like, back in the day when I was, I think I was in middle school. So this would have been like 2003, 2002, that era. And I think like those experiences, whether it's just getting out on stage, memorizing lines, working with people, it really forces you out of your bubble. And I think the reason why, thinking back on it, like the reason why I probably could host a podcast, or that could give presentations or be comfortable in front of people and not be, too afraid to look silly. It's because of those experiences, right?
Totally.
Like they stick with you. So
yeah, it's like this really interesting combination. Like, on one hand, as like a camp director, and me and the other facilitators, like, I think we do have this feeling of like almost guilt of making the kids do the performance, because the showcase is intense. Like, the Imperial's huge. Like, I get that that's like a very overwhelming experience, but also kind of acknowledging that we're just giving them a little push, and we've given them all these tools throughout the week, and that's kind of how you make magic happen. Like, the showcase component is mandatory if you're a camper that attends, and that's not to be mean. It's just to be like, if this is, if you're ready for this, then we're going to help you. And at a certain point, it's a leap of faith, but we're all there for you, and we're all nervous too. And honestly, last year, I could cry just thinking about it. Like, we did the sound check in the afternoon at the Imperial, and the tech crew was awesome, and they got a real professional sound check, and we were like, this is always how you should be talked to by a sound technician, whether it's in like a small bar or cafe or the Imperial Theater. Like, you guys should be treated with respect. So that was really cool. And then they did their sound check, and they sounded really good. And then they came back, and the show was amazing. Like, they sounded like they gotten even tighter in the 2 hours dinner break we had. And it was like, you guys are real musicians. Like, the pressure really helped, it seemed. I don't know if they would say that, but I feel like it did.
Pressure makes you do.
I also think it's important, like, whether you're having to do like play an instrument, whether it's a project in school or you're working at like a dish pit. Like, if you bail on your team, you're kind of an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, it's
teamwork.
true.
You know what I mean? So, and it's whether you're doing it now as a fun, rah-rah kid, or whether like you're on the line. Like, if you quit when like you're out on the line, and now I've got a sink loaded, like, we're not buds anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like,
totally.
I mean, that's life. So I think it also teaches them, like, to pull up their socks and kind of just, okay, things are going to be hard, but if you can kind of get that and then know that people are out there rooting for you and you can kind of rely on them, then
totally.
It's when you're isolated and you feel alone that you don't want to do those things the most.
Yeah, when you get when the anxiety kind of makes you tighten up. And yeah, like, I think that's exactly right. The collaboration aspect of it is huge, and like, it can obviously cause tension because people are really passionate about their creative endeavors, no matter how old they are. Yeah. But it was really great to see how the kids worked together last year. A lot of them were strangers to each other. It was, they were real pros. It was actually it was almost weird. Sydney Foy was one of the facilitators. She's my best friend and roommate. And she mentioned at like day 3, she was like, they're not checking their phones. Like, they come to camp and they put their phones in their backpacks and then they work all day. Mm-hmm. She was like, it's weird. Like, they're working so hard. Like,
that's an indicator right there.
Honestly, they were practically...
I literally just brought this up like 2 days ago, me and Amelia. I was like, we are not to bring out phones during work chunks at certain times.
That's
but like,
good, yeah.
But it's just so that, like, because the brains are just, go respond to this, go add this email. And that's kind of like the thing to it. But when you start to realize, like, people aren't just like looking all the time, and maybe that'll shift, right? Like, real quick.
Honestly,
hopefully not everyone's on the gram.
I really hope that everyone's not on the gram this year, but yeah, it was impressive. Like, they were practically telling us grown-ups to like smarten up and like work harder. We were like goofing around, and they were like really serious. So we were really we're really lucky because the kids from like, we kind of expected this just like with what we knew of St. John and like knew of the campers, but Johners are really hard workers. Like they were ready to make some music.
The kids are all right.
And I know, I mean, this can be for another time, but I kind of just wanted you to touch on it. Like I think I've known you now for what, 7 years, 8 years?
Yeah. I feel like we met really soon when I moved here. I've been here for like 8 years.
Because it was a couple of months before your first Stuck event that we kind of started hanging out. Yeah. And that's when I first like started like getting to know you at like Port City Royal.
Totally.
And I think like when you start to like look back on like your friends and seeing like what they love and what they do, like seeing you like put in all the work like with Stuck and like asking people like what do you get from like feeling like you're in a space like when you could be doing a lot more, and like asking yourselves like those questions and then like kind of putting that on other people that's like what are we doing? Like we're not stuck. There's a lot to do, and then everything you've done with Quality Block Party, with the rock camp, and now like I'm just saying you're opening a venue.
Yeah.
Right. And like, that's really, I think like anyone that knows you would say that was probably like something that you've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
But you're smart about it. So you didn't just go, buy a piece of shit building 5 years ago and screw your credit over and, be dumb about it. Like you really, I think you've done enough research. You know what the ecosystem's like from like funding and who to work with and who not to work with. But can you tell anybody any details about the space or what they can expect, or I don't know.
That stuff's still pretty much a secret.
Yeah.
But it's like a St. John secret, so I feel like a lot of people know.
Yeah.
But we're announcing soon, and yeah, it has been kind of a natural progression for me professionally. Thank you so much for saying that. That's that's like very meaningful to hear from you. But yeah, like with the major project that we're working on right now being the venue, it's like it definitely does feel like I feel elements of Stuck in it and a lot of Quality Block Party and working with organizations like Third Space. Like I don't know, I kind of feel like I've just like been like picking up all this information and it just like is sort of coalescing with this like one big project. But with Rock Camp too, like it was really important to me to do something like that here. And
you're a doer as well. I think that's why I've always kind of like I respect that mostly about you.
Thank you.
People love to talk, but you always walk the walk.
Yeah,
you guys are also doers. I think that we all have the same problem.
But I think like like myself, over time you get so used to trying to understand what you need to know and what is actually applicable, and then how it helps you and other people. But now you're actually primarily a facilitator. Like, yes, you'll have the venue. Yes, you do these things, but really you facilitate things to happen.
Yeah.
And groups to come together and then actions to be taken as a result. And whether it's safe spaces or festivals or camps, I think like there's a lot of like, I don't know. I think it's just pretty baller, honestly.
Thank you.
And it's not like a floof show or anything like that. But I just think like
straight facts.
You don't have to be defined about like what it is that you do. So like a show promoter or a writer or this or that or like a photographer. But like if you are a 2-week photographer, just maybe like respect the space, right? Like if you're just all of a sudden entering the space as a photographer, but you're not, one, but I think like you don't have to have it defined. I think if you just facilitate good things to happen and for people to kind of come back together, I think like that's huge.
I think that's kind of the thing, like what we were talking about before we started recording, and just like what I think about a lot. I think a lot of people had this reckoning because of the pandemic kind of just shaking everything up, that like once you kind of like take a step back and notice like what projects bring you joy, who is lifting you up, like who can you call and say, I have this crazy idea, and they're supportive of you, like within reason. Like obviously I feel like I really value the people in my life, like my partner and my best friend Sid. Julia and Sid are often the people I reach for when I need to like be held back a little bit. But they're like, I have really amazing people in my life who really want to boost me up. So I think that like, it kind of feels like, it's like that, I think it's a Margaret Atwood quote, like just when you're in the middle of a story, it doesn't feel like a story. It just feels like a confusion. But when you look back on it, you're like, oh my God, I'm like almost 30 and I actually have a career. Like I never thought that I would be able to say that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. No,
like
that's fact.
it feels like chaos in the moment,
Yeah.
but it's all part of the story. It's a chapter, it's a journey. Because like I don't know, I'm turning 30 in August, so
Let's talk about turning 30.
I've been thinking a lot about that, like just sort of like, okay, like this has been this decade, you know, everyone talks about their 20s and this defining decade or whatever, and then just kind of thinking like, oh, like did I do? And then like when I look back at it though, like I was like, shit, like I did a lot, I experienced a lot, like
Yeah.
and it's all for a purpose, right?
Totally. And I think it's like some people want to make you feel like your experience is really unique to you. And those people are often people that don't want you to like find solidarity or like have confidence in yourself. Like, I don't know, like I've often been told like a lot of people that work in food service that it's like a job that's temporary or something you do when you're a student. And like, I've never thought that was the case. I've always loved this work. And now I'm going to be in like a leadership role in that field, and similar with music. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, just don't listen to anyone that's telling you that like your what you're doing is not like part of a larger story.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also realized I was just reflecting on this. Like, I never work with men anymore. Like, I don't know where that happened, but like suddenly I'm just like surrounded by like queer folks and women all the time. It's awesome.
No, it's intentional, right? Because it's like you said, you spend your time like where you know it's going to, you know, like you're intentional with it and the people that you have in it. So
yeah, I mean, I work with some great guys now. I'm starting to like. Now I feel bad. I love you, Peter and Corey.
there's great.
Yeah, we get it.
You guys know what I mean.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But it just like the ratio really tipped, and that's really exciting. And I think that like with Rock Camp last year, it was the first time that a lot of us in the music sector were actually able to even gather at all. And so that was definitely part of why it was so emotional.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. Like it was really, really valuable. But yeah, thank you for gassing me up.
Always hype you up.
I'm gonna make you try our.
I mean, this is the mukbang part of the evening.
Yes.
Are you guys ready for it?
So people not watching this episode, if you're not, you should. We brought out the Dunkaroos again.
Amelia, you want to try it? Amelia on camera. No, do it. Do it.
I'm like sweating
awesome.
through my clothes. So.
Yeah, show that sleeve. Yeah.
Queen.
Admin reveal.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's just thriving. I love it.
So did you eat Dunkaroos as a child?
No, which is fine. I said that in a whiny voice. My mom is like when I was a kid, and now she was a working person. But prior to when she was a stay-at-home mom with my siblings, she was like making her own tofu and like growing things in the garden. Like that's what my mom's all about. So I don't even think she would recognize what this is. But my dad always had this sense that like Abby's going to school and is going to want to like trade things in from her lunchbox for like better things. So dad would kind of hook me up. He realized that there was like an economy. And so he couldn't get me Dunkaroos because mom wouldn't stand for it, obviously, but he would like try to get me like something that had some kind of currency. So maybe I could like trade upwards and get Dunkaroos. Like I remember my
Mott's vegetable fruit stations.
I remember my dad. Yes, exactly. I remember him being like, "Can you trade any of this?" And me being like, "Yes, I think I can work with this." And he was like, "Okay. This is the best that we can do." I know.
I think we spoke about it, I don't know, maybe last week, but my dad sent me to school with blow pops to sell for $1 a piece.
Oh, nice.
Oh. Yeah, so I traded blow pops, right? Because
no one was money.
No, straight up, man, all through school. That's how I made my
business,
money.
Man. That's where you get your business acumen.
Straight up, man.
I also like I just always ate my snacks. Because I didn't know, I didn't ever think like to sell them or trade them. I probably did some trading.
Yeah.
It's so long ago, but
I always have a cart full of snacks because it's just where I'm just like, when I worked at Xerox, I literally had a treat table.
Yeah.
Like a
One thing that's very important to the Rock Camp process is that there are snacks for the campers, but also for the facilitators. Mm. And last year, my partner took me to Costco so I could shop for Rock Camp stuff. And at one point, Julia picked up like this big thing of croissants, and she was like, "I think this would be really good for morale." And they were really good for morale.
Oh, that's so sweet.
The
Carbs,
facilitators,
bread.
like day 3, no one ate them. Everyone was being polite. But then like day 3, everyone's like, "I need carbs right now." And I think it really helped the grown-ups.
Yeah. No, that's really good.
I should get Dunkaroos for the grown-ups.
I was gonna say maybe Strange Crews will just have to donate some Dunkaroos.
There we go. That's our contribution.
For some
Strange
reason,
snack delivery.
for some reason, there's this tradition in the rock camp in New Brunswick universe to like give the kids Baby Bells on Friday.
Baby Bells rule.
Baby Bells rip and they lose their minds when they get the Baby Bells.
It's
So-
just cheese, man. Cheese is the glue that holds society
We need
together,
cheese.
our lives together.
Wow. Okay, I'm into that.
Yeah, so Baby Bell Friday is a big boost because also by the end of the week, like the snack table starts looking a little sad and like, so that's when you're like, okay, here's juice and Baby Bells, and everyone's like, what? And then they can do their showcase.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
That's like, I mean,
I love that.
Yeah.
Well-
Snacks at shows is the future.
Snacks and shows. Oh, I like that. That's merch. That's merch.
we
Get
got
on
like
it.
5 merch ideas from this one
Admin.
episode. Well, thank you so much, Abby, for joining us.
Come over anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
You're, as I said, you're an iconic guest.
Oh, thank
And
you. This
It's
is
always so fun, so much fun to chat.
yeah. I really feel like coming on Strange Grooves is always a good
Can you
reminder.
grab the Baby Bells up there?
Get the
'Cause
Baby Bells.
You have a mini Baby Bell? Of course you do.
Wait till you see. I have that, and then I have the gold version.
There's gold. Oh, that's like the
No,
Gouda version.
it should. No, I
Oh,
see it. It's
gold?
right by the cinnamon.
Well, there's no gold Baby Bells in real life, but they're like, imagine it'd be like the yellow ones.
See it?
Yellow ones are
Right.
Gouda.
Well, there's plant-based
Yeah.
ones now. I'm a lactose-free
It's right behind the pepper.
icon, so except for Twinkies. Do I make an
There
exception for
should be
Twinkies?
little.
Oh, I see it. I see them. Okay.
It's worth it, guys. It's worth
It's
it.
worth the wait. I need to see these. Ah,
Oh my God, they're
my
so
God.
precious.
Gold Baby Bells.
What is happening?
Mini
Why?
brands.
open? I don't think this one
What is
opens.
going on? I love.
I also
tiny
have mini
things.
shredded cheese.
That's also a staple.
I also have Velveeta mac and cheese.
What is this play dairy that you have? That's so
I collect
cute.
mini
brands.
groceries.
Oh my God, Julia would die.
I got my mini almond milk and my Folgers. I got the pepper's really good. The cinnamon's good.
You have a whole tiny things area.
yeah.
This is kind of a very visual
Yes.
component of this audio project.
Yes.
So for
realizing-
those listening, we're going through Kate's mini brands.
We're just touching tiny things.
check out the blog for photos.
Oh, thank you. Wow, this is really making me feel better about lactose intolerance. It's like these tiny toy cheeses.
And on that note, until next week,
Keep it strange.